Today, President Biden is meeting with Senate judiciary leaders to discuss a replacement for retiring Justice Breyer, who he vows to nominate a black female.
We've heard that criteria drawing outrage from former Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who tweeted this. Biden chose Harris as his vice president because of the color of her skin and sex, not qualification. She's been a disaster. Now he promises to choose Supreme Court nominee on the same criteria. Identity politics is destroying our country. Vivek Ramaswamy examines identity politics in his upcoming book. Comes out in September. It's called Nation of Victims. That's the first time anybody's ever seen the cover. Vivek, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to see you.
So what do you make of what Tulsi Gabbard suggests when it comes to Joe Biden and his pick for the Supreme Court?
Well, look, I think she's dead on correct. And this is actually exactly the topic of my next book. It is the death of merit in this country. It is the rise of this new culture that penalizes pure excellence and instead rewards these victimhood narratives. I personally think when it comes to racial discrimination, speaking of the Supreme Court, I followed the John Roberts school of thought. If you want to stop discrimination on the basis of race, then stop discriminating on the basis of race. Right. Yet we have an administration here that repeatedly conflates the color of your skin with the content of the ideas that you're allowed to have. And I cannot think of a more invidious definition of racism than actually predicting something about the content of somebody's views and ideas based on the color of their skin. Yet that's the culture we live in. And that culture today is set from the top, starting with the President of the United States. And that's part of what I call for in my new book. It's coming out in September, as you said. We need to revive a path back to shared excellence and a rejection of this identity politic that's actually dividing us apart in the guise of these narratives of victimhood.
Well, speaking of the Supreme Court, the court is set to hear two challenges to affirmative action, one involving Harvard, the other involving UNC. And the accusation is that these schools are discriminating against Asian students by giving preferential treatment to Black and Hispanic students. What are your thoughts on this court case, and how do you think it's going to play out?
I think these are really important cases. I think that given the court's makeup today, we might have the best shot in a generation at actually turning back the clock on affirmative action cases in ways that I think will be good for race relations in this country and good for the revival of merit and the revival of the pursuit of excellence in this country. Harvard system, and I speak as a Harvard alum myself, Harvard system is perhaps the worst of all worlds because the way they discriminate against Asian students is actually by docking them on personality scores. So I say this as supposedly as an Asian American person who went to Harvard. They actually say they can't discriminate directly against Asians. So what they do is they have a soft system that docks them on account of personality score because that at least keeps with prior Supreme Court precedents that allow for affirmative action in certain contexts. Well, guess what? That is fueling a new form of racism by creating these racial stereotypes that are actually harmful to Asians in the name of actually helping minorities. That's just an example of what's wrong in our country, and that's what I love to talk about is how we can more importantly revive a positive culture that puts merit first again. I actually think that'll be unifying.
And this kind of plays into your book that you can pre-order now. It's called Nation of Victims. Vivek, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you. Congratulations on the book.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Meanwhile, 15 minutes.